Hi guys, welcome to City of Angels, Conversations That Heal LA. My name is Suzanne Quast.
And I'm Stefan Lovegrove, and as you know, this is a show where we have conversations about all things spirituality, metaphysics, personal growth, and we're very excited.
I'm so excited.
Very
I don't know if you
excited.
can see the excitement eluding off me.
Seriously, and I think today is going to be one of the most fascinating and also one of the most moving conversations that we have all season long. So with us on the couch today is America's medium herself, Stephanie Sinclair. Hello, Stephanie.
Hi, I'm like, just like you are. Hi, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
We are so excited. That's
Yes.
the fifth time we've said it.
I know, we've been talking about it all morning.
But
Seriously.
here's my disclaimer for this episode. So we were talking to Stephanie in advance, and something that I know her well enough to have learned about mediumship and all of that at this point is you can't produce spirit. So we don't know what's going to happen. She is open. We're going to have a conversation. But can we just start off by clarifying for people? A lot of people have heard the term medium,
Yes.
heard the term psychic, maybe have a vague idea or don't even really know the difference. So let's start with that.
Yeah, so first, one of my pet peeves, unfortunately, and mediums say this and psychics say this, is the term psychic medium. It makes you think if it's a psychic, it's a medium, and if it's a medium, it's a psychic, and it's not. A medium is a person who helps physical souls connect with souls in the spirit world. A psychic is soul-to-soul communication with people in the physical world. By default, if you're a medium, you are a psychic, but it doesn't necessarily go the other way around. That if you are a psychic, you're a medium. Now, you can pick up cues from a soul to soul. I can pick up some of your memories, but I couldn't pick up the soul's memory from the psychic place. I can only pick up your memories and the things that's going on with you. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
So it's literally soul to soul communication with those on the other side in the spirit realm. And I also want to add, because people get really confused, it's not just your loved ones, it's spirit guides as well. It's anyone and anything or entity in the spirit world.
I think something that I'm very curious about is how did you discover and when did you discover that you were first a psychic and a medium? Or
Well, I don't even know how we should say this, because I'm going to say, when did I say it? When did I put a term to it?
no, like when you were a kid, did you realize it? Were you
I
walking
didn't know I was a
around?
medium. I definitely didn't know I was a medium because I grew up in a very Christian background.
Okay.
In the South, you do not see things. You do not see spirits. You do not hear things. You're evil. It's evil. You want to pray it away. And so I thought they were ghosts. So I grew up seeing this woman. Later I found out she was my spirit guide, but she would stand in my doorway of my bedroom every night, and it freaked me out for years and years and years.
That's a little unsettling.
and how old are you?
For
What did
I was
she?
about 8 when I first remember this happening.
And what
I was
did
in the
she
third
look
grade.
like?
More so like a shadow, but I knew she was definitely not African American. So here I am, this black girl with this white woman standing in my doorway with like this long robe on, and she had blonde hair, and it was very, very interesting. She would never say anything. She would just stand there. And I'm like, it's a ghost in here. And it took me a minute to realize that it wasn't a ghost attached to the house, but it followed me around when it followed me to college, and when it followed us to other houses. It was like, oh, this is me. And slowly I began to pick up things of other people. The difference is, for my spirit guides, I have long relationships with them unconsciously, but I saw them clearly. Like for your person, they'll show me a flash of them. So I have to catch it really quick. So how I see you sitting here would be really great if spirits would sit down with me and tell me their entire story, but it doesn't really happen like that. They'll give me a flash, or give me a flash of a memory, or a flash of them sitting at a table putting on makeup, that sort of thing. So it's not quite as clear, but yes.
When you say flash, okay, what exactly does that mean? So literally, what are you seeing? Are you seeing like what they look like? Do you see an energy? Do you have is it an essence?
It depends. It depends on the spirit. Different spirits communicate in different ways. So some spirits choose to show themselves to me in a physical form, their face. Some especially This is really interesting. Women choose to show themselves to me more than men, and women will show the features that they like. So women who love their hair, I've had readings where I've seen long beach wavy hair, but I couldn't see their face, but I could describe their hair to a T because that was what was important to them. Men show me things like their motorcycle, a jacket, a leather jacket or something they enjoy wearing. So it really depends on the spirit, on what they show me. And I can't see all spirits. Some spirits won't show themselves to me at all, but they'll show me things. They'll show me memories. And technically, I don't know if we're clear on what the clairs are, but I have all the clairs. So
I would, but explain what clairs is.
So clair means, I think it's a French word, but for clear.
Okay.
So I'm clairaudient, which means I have clear hearing, which isn't that clear, but they call it clairaudient.
Right.
I'm clairvoyant, which is clear seeing. Again, it's not that clear. I'm clairsentient, which is clear feeling. I'm clairessence and gustance, which means I can smell and I can taste. And it's one that I'm missing. I can't remember what it is, but I'm all the clairs.
All the clairs.
I'm all the clairs.
And all psychics, all the clairs?
No.
Okay.
Not at all. And not all mediums are all the clairs. So I went on this search because I thought everyone was. And I realized like some of the ones whose names we know, they may be just clairvoyant or clairaudient. Now, you do have clairs that's stronger, and they come out depending on whatever their needs are. So some spirits, they just don't have the energy to show you pictures, but you can feel into their essence, or they'll whisper something in your ear. So it really just depends. Or they'll put a flavor in your mouth, which is really interesting because I get like flavors for foods that I'm like, I don't even like that, but now I want it.
So crazy.
That sort of thing.
Flavors.
So yeah, I'll get a flavor of macaroni and cheese. I actually like macaroni and cheese.
Right. That's a good one. Well,
And that means that's what that spirit
I'll
really
bring it
liked.
up, and a lot of times they're talking to me about a memory of something. A great example, course I went to a couple of weeks ago because I'm always investing in taking it further. I just want to be the best. I have no problem saying that. Most spiritual people will never say they want to be the best because it's ego. I think it's ego that stops you from saying you want to be the best. I want to be the best, so I take all these different courses to just grow and do a bit more. And a woman came through, and she was showing me her and her daughter in the kitchen, and she was cooking, and she gave me the taste of liver, rice, and gravy.
oh,
What is that?
You're from the South. Quit playing.
it's an acquired taste.
It's an acquired taste. Yes, and so I was able to. I wasn't quite sure why I was getting the flavor, but the conversation that I was bringing up, that's actually what she was cooking at the time they were having the conversation. So I didn't quite know why I was getting the flavor. I just say, it's really weird. I'm getting a taste for liver, rice, and gravy, and she was like. But I had no way of knowing why I was being shown that. So it just depends on what it is that the spirit is trying to bring through.
Got it.
So I want to touch on two things that came up in this discussion. One of them being, you mentioned many of the names that we may know may only be clairaudient, for example, or whatever it is. I am curious, why do you think, particularly in the last decade, I was counting as we were getting ready for the show, all of the mediums that have come to prominence, even in the United States, why do you think there's been this resurgence in pop culture? And like, there is a general interest. It still might be controversial. There still might be fear, which I also want to talk about. But why do you think this has been more prominent in the last decade, do you think?
Yeah, I do think it has something to do with being in the age of Aquarius and being in the age where people as a whole are waking up to truth and knowing that it's more.
Can you explain what that is, the age of Aquarius to people?
I think the easiest way is to say an awakening.
Okay.
So it's more people than ever who are going to come out with their gifts, and more people than ever who are interested in connecting with their spirit guides and having these deeper conversations. More people than ever are leaving the church and leaving religion. Not that they're leaving God, and I think that's a really great distinguishable thing, but people are realizing that you don't need this organized religion that puts you in a box to have this relationship with your source and have a relationship with God. So that's what's been going on in the age of Aquarius. We are smack dab in the middle of it, and more people than, and this is the thing, we don't have any more mediums than we've always had. It's just they're willing to come to light now.
Right.
Do you think that because most religions believe in an afterlife, that mediums are more popular than a psychic?
Well, I don't know if I knew they were more popular. That's interesting.
That's funny to me. She told me
That's
she thought that, and
interesting.
I thought mediums were the most controversial
We
of
are.
all.
Are you?
Because of talk.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, what has your experience been with? I would sense people have a lot of fear. I mean, we know death is one of the number one fears. The afterlife. Many of us were taught to believe in hell. So what would you say to somebody who has a lot of fear? There are people watching this conversation who are like, I would never. I'm interested. They're watching, but they're like, I would never. I'd be too scared. What do you
Or do
say
you
to the
think
fear?
though that they're maybe they're when you say that they're afraid, then their curiosity or their need to know that their loved one is okay outweighs that fear?
Well, I think we have a few things going on, so I
Sure.
want to touch on all
Yeah.
of them. Like, it was so much happening here. First, we have to realize that for most people, if you have this conversation that the body dies, the spirit and the soul never dies, and your loved one comes through, then we have to have the conversation that hell isn't a real place. And that confronts the core of what most of us have been taught in religion. Even if you weren't religious, you've heard of heaven and hell.
Yeah.
So then now it confronts a core belief. And when we start confronting core beliefs, it will shake people, like shake them silly, and they will want to run as far away because it must not be real. So I think that's the first thing, is that when we hear something that directly confronts what our loved ones told us, our civic leaders have told us, now you're being confronted with maybe you've been lied to and your belief may not be truth, and people don't want to face that. So I do think that's the first thing. The second thing is people pick and choose what they want to believe out of holy text.
Okay.
And people also don't look up words in the dictionary.
What do you
Like this word that I always mess up that I'm going to say anyway. Necromancy, I believe that's the correct pronunciation. People always want to say, well, the Bible speaks against necromancy. And necromancy is the raising of the dead. And I'm like, well, honey, I am not in a cemetery raising the dead. Sorry to break this to you. I'm not. Necromancy is literally people who attempt to raise dead bodies.
Okay.
The spirit of your loved one, the soul of your loved one, it's not dead. It never dies. The energy still lives, and there's scientific research that shows that the brain, the memories of those deceased never actually die. No one actually questions, well, how is that possible if they're dead? Because only the physical body dies. So I think that it's just hard for people to realize that what we've been taught mainstream just may not be the truth. That's a very hard thing.
That's unsettling.
It is. It's a hard thing to confront.
But you can still be religious and also spiritual.
I think you can be, because
They're not mutually exclusive.
they're not mutually exclusive, but usually when you become spiritual and you start, it's like seeing, like getting this enlightenment and then saying, I'm going to hold on to this over here that's not enlightenment. Usually once you learn something and you see that there's another way and that God is grace and God is love and God is not damning people to hell like you think they are, you kind of have to choose that way. You don't have to, but I don't know many people who are enlightened and then say, but I'm going to hold on to this because it's my core belief.
Well, this sounds really personal to you. This sounds like
Very
something
interesting.
something that maybe you've had to deal with or had to go through, and that's where this realization has come through. Is this something that you've had that's been difficult for you to come out and talk about the spiritual side?
It's interesting because I'm an Alabama girl. I'm a Southern girl, Bible Belt, and so I definitely grew up in church. I worked on ministry. I'm actually an ordained minister. I don't talk a lot about it because I'm a cursor, but I am an ordained minister. But I've always known there was more. Like, I always felt like somebody's missing. It's a portion of the story that's missing. Just always felt like I was confused about the way stories were being told. Jonah did not get in a well with a coffee table and a candle and stuff like that. Those things just did not happen quite like that. And that was before I even heard the term metaphysical and learned that really it's metaphysical stories and lessons behind the things that's in the Bible. I didn't have that much of a difficulty, though. I have to tell you, what was more difficult to me was telling my family and putting a word on it, which is really interesting how that turned out. But more difficult was saying to my family, so all the dead people that I've been seeing all my life, because it never was a secret. We just said it was a ghost and you don't tell anybody. Like
So your
stays in our
family knew
household.
about the little girl,
Yes.
but it was just conceived of as a ghost, and
It's
we're
a
just not
ghost.
going to tell anybody.
And we're going to pray it away.
And we're going to pray it away.
I rebuke you, Satan, in the name of Jesus. I heard that so much in my household growing up. Really? Like, I'm from pretty much, like, I would say a very religious family. I mean, literally, if I said I saw a spirit, my mother would open the front door and be like, no, it gotta go. I rebuke you, Satan, in the name of Jesus. Get out of here. Like, Stephanie's looking like, what?
No, I'm not shocked by that. I'm sitting here thinking about how funny it is that I grew up as a gay child, and that was something that we were gonna pray away.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here thinking about how universal of a thing it is that when we don't understand something, many people's response is, I rebuke that. I don't know what this is. I don't understand. Like Satan. I think it's so funny that that's our default response in those circles.
Yes. But we fear what we don't know and what we don't understand.
Right.
And as opposed to having a thirst for knowledge and trying to get an understanding, like in the history of people, anytime we've wronged people, it's because we didn't understand people. We feared the thing we didn't understand. And I think that was a big piece. But I do want to tell you that once I sat down and had the core, like, real conversation with my mom, because for a minute, even as an adult, as I started doing the work, she thought I was releasing spirits or, you know, that sort of thing. And I'm like, what do you think I'm into? Like, I'm powerful. We're all powerful, but I don't have that kind of power. But I really, once I told her, we've never put the word medium on it, but I'm actually the 4th generation medium in my family. My mom has always smelled spirits. Like, everyone doesn't have all the clairs, but my mom has smelled spirit, and she dreams of spirit. And she told me my grandmother did, and her mother did, but I'm the only one with everything.
So then she came around and became supportive.
Now she asks me more questions more than anything.
Well, and if she has that, maybe it's also then sparked that interest in understanding it for herself.
Yes, exactly. Because again, my grandmother was religious. And so it always takes one person, I believe, to say, oh no, we're going to do this different. This isn't anything to be afraid of. And I just believe I'm the person that is sparking that change in my family. And I would even say culture, really, because I don't know if we're even going to bring this up, but there aren't many people of color who come out of the closet as mediums.
Why is that?
Oh goodness, this is like,
No, I mean, I'm genuinely curious.
And if we were to go really deep, now this is my theory. Let me just start with that. This is my theory. But I really think that this goes back to slavery. We have to go all the way back when African people were brought over, and it was a core part of African religions that spirits live on and that we communicate with spirits. That's a core part of from Yoruba and all different sorts of African religions. But as a slave, it was illegal. You could get beat and killed for keeping your religion. And so you couldn't talk about this, you couldn't do these things, and you had to adopt Christianity. So that's one generation. And then if you're being taught that you're going to be killed by having this conversation and doing this thing, then you don't teach your next generation that this is normal. You teach them that it's evil, you're going to die, you're going to go to hell, all these things. And just down the line, it dies, it goes away. That's my theory. Now, it made good sense to me.
That does make sense. Like an inherent fear.
Yes.
That's subtly been passed down, or maybe not so subtly, but as time's gone on and more time has passed.
Yes.
And people like you have the courage to then say, this is who I am and what happens to me and what I believe.
Yes. And it's so deep in the church. You know, all different cultures are Christians. We know that. But for people of color, for a very long time, their religion and God and Jesus was all they had to hold on to. You'll find that, and I think the reason you find more population in the Bible Belt is because you find more poor people too, who need something to believe in, who need something to hold on to, something to get them to the next level. And then it turned into, well, God doesn't want you to do this. Well, God made me this way. And actually, because I am in the image and likeness of God, just like you are. And Jesus went to, if we remember the Bible stories of Jesus going to hell, the spirit world, and getting the keys, and it also through the power of the Holy Spirit, greater work shall you do. Now, if he can go to the spirit world, why I can't go? Greater work shall I do? I'm not like, so we pick and choose what we're going to believe. We pick and choose what scriptures we're going to use. But greater work shall we do, and that's what I'm doing.
You are. I do think with the religion and spirituality thing, ultimately, you're going to encounter something along the journey that disrupts your paradigm. And I think, I talk about this all the time. I don't identify within Christianity, but I go to a church very regularly. You know what I mean? But at some point, you have to decide how open are you to something outside of your paradigm. And if you can play in spaces lightly, but still keep an open mind and an open heart, I think that's a very powerful place to be. I do want to acknowledge, because we just have to bring this up, that literally
I was
right.
just gonna say it.
I know Suzanne wants to go here. I know you guys want us to go here. That right before we went on the air, literally right before. The timing could not have been.
Yeah, I welled up with tears.
So Stephanie, what did you ask right before we went on the air?
Yeah, so we were getting mic'd up. I asked if anyone had a mother who was in spirit who had passed. It's a woman, and she's actually not still standing here, but I worked really hard to remember what was happening at the moment. And she was like, "Hey, I'm here." And I couldn't see her, but I could feel her energy. And she definitely died before her time. She did not live to be an older woman. But you actually said it was your mother. So if it was somebody in the studio, you can definitely let me know. But she definitely died before her time. She felt like on some level she was cheated of her life. She did not die of old age. That's what I'm getting. And it's something that's still being grieved. You're still not completely over the death. Now, this is interesting because a lot of people will say, well, do you ever really get over? Not really, but you don't always grieve. That's a different conversation that was going on. So when I said it to you and you went to tear up, she was like, okay, that's enough. Like, leave it alone. And that's why I was like, all right, we'll just go.
No, I love it,
back.
actually.
Yeah.
My mom died, I think it was 13 years ago now, which is crazy because sometimes it still feels like yesterday, and then sometimes it feels like so much time has passed.
Yes.
So whenever, really believe in this world, I've seen psychics, mediums, clairvoyants, and whenever I have acknowledgement that she's around, it makes me feel very warm inside.
Yes.
Because there's so many times where, I'm going through a difficult time or I don't know how to connect with her. And then so I ask for signs.
Yes.
And I'm like, can you please just let me know, am I doing the right thing? Can you talk to me? Can you be here for me?
Yeah.
And so hearing it, please, I didn't mean it like, don't, I really want to hear it.
But the funny thing is, you were telling me don't say it, and when you started tearing up, she was like, okay, wait, hold on. So both of you were kind of like, okay, I'm not ready to do that now, even though I know part of the reason we didn't want to do it was because of lights, camera, action.
Right.
Like, can you hold on? You can't really make the spirit world hold on. So it's like, okay, tell me what you're going to tell me and then move on. But it was really more so of I died before my time. I wasn't ready really to leave, and that I really love her. So it was a simple message, and she left. She may even come back. I'm actually feeling what feels like an uncle who's here as well. I don't know who the uncle belongs to. And the uncle would have been a little bit older when he passed away. I don't know if he's yours or one of the producers, but there is a younger or another male that's here as well. That's somebody's uncle. He loved cars. He loved older cars, and he loved fixing on cars and working on cars. So we won't bother any of the producers right now, but I'll mess with them later. Yeah.
We got a lot of questions from viewers, which thank you again. But this leads me to my question: is do you ever get messages or negative spirits or bad spirits? And if so, do you relay that to the other, to somebody like me?
So I've never gotten. It depends on who you talk to.
Okay.
I've never gotten a bad spirit because I talk to spirits in the spirit world. I don't really deal with earthbound spirits. That's never been my experience. I consciously go into the spirit world to connect with those spirits. But if you ask the people who are living, I've had readings where I'll use an example. Of course, I won't say her name, but her grandfather came through, and she was like, "Oh, I don't know him. No, I don't have a." Well, actually, her exact words was, "I don't have a granddad," and I'm like.
You technically do.
I was like, your mom doesn't have a dad? And she was like, yeah, but we didn't know him. I was like, oh, but that has nothing to do with it. Like, you don't have to know him, but he has something to say. And he was very abusive to the children and to his wife. And he came through showing me all this and that he was an alcoholic. And he wasn't a nice man in the physical. So when we talk about bad spirits, when you go into the spirit world, spirits are all love. They want to, not all spirits. Now, let me fix that. Spirits who go into the spirit world, for the most part, are all loving and want to come right their wrongs.
So he came then to
right
make
his
it,
wrong.
yeah,
He
apologize.
showed me the whole picture and gave me messages to go back, for her to go back and tell her mother. So she didn't want to be bothered with him, but I have to tell people, this
But maybe
is
that
about
helped
the spirit
heal her.
world. Yeah, and it helps heal them. They can't move on. They can't ascend to the next level of spirit. It's the hell that we think of is very interesting, because people are like, well, do people not give an account for the thing they do? But they do. It's a period of them going back through their lives and feeling the pain that they have put on other people. So it's a hell of sorts, but that whole you're going to cherish in hell, fire, and damnation forever. No, people just work to right their wrongs, and they get to basically live the bullcrap that they've done. Yeah. Can I curse? That bullcrap just did not feel real right. It just did not feel right. It didn't even sound right, did it? Oh, bullcrap.
It was a little off.
Yeah, it was. You know, I wanted to say bullshit. That felt so much better. Okay, there we go.
So obviously we could continue this conversation all day.
yeah.
For sake of time, we do have to move on to our speed round. But I will say, Stephanie posts so much content on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. So if you want more from America's Medium, there is plenty.
Yes.
But we're going to finish with our speed round to wrap up our show today. And we're loving this conversation.
Speed round.
Yes. All right. Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay. What is the song on your playlist right now?
Boss, Beyonce and Jay-Z.
Oh, so good.
Yeah,
You
so
should have good answers for these. I was very excited about the speed round because I thought you would have good answers.
Obsessed with the Carters.
Best
Yeah.
book you've read recently?
Recently, it's an old book, but it's a book by Neville, and it's The Power of Unlimited Imagination.
Which you sent to me.
Yes.
Did
A
you
long
read it?
time ago.
Yes.
Okay.
It's so good.
I read it again yesterday, the whole book.
I've
mean, are you a
listened to
speed
that
reader?
audiobook like over a dozen times.
Yes.
It's very good.
Okay. I'll have to
By
add this.
Neville Goddard.
All right. What is your favorite podcast?
Oh. I have an answer. I'm thinking of the name of it. This is not Speedy. Okay, we'll go with the one I just started listening to. It's Women in Business. It's one called Women in Business.
Okay.
Dang it, I can't think of the other.
The good.
It'll come to you, like right when it
It'll
ends,
come when we
right?
go off
You're
air. Like
so
the other
good.
thing came right before. Now I know you're based out of Vegas currently, but favorite hangout spot in LA? Do you have one?
LA. No, not really.
The airport.
I mean, really, it's where I frequent, like wherever I get with Stefan and do live streams. That's my favorite hangout
That's
spot.
amazing. Okay, what is the thing you're most proud of?
You should have asked me my favorite hangout spot in the world.
Oh, tell me that.
Okay, what's that?
Yeah, I love this little beachside hangout in Sfericavallo, Italy, which is at the southernmost tip of Italy. It's a little beach hangout spot. You know, I would have to find someone, but it's my
lovely.
favorite hangout. I've been there so many times. It's lovely.
Amazing.
It's amazing.
I've never heard of it.
Yes, Sfericavallo. Yes.
Yes. What is the thing you're most proud of?
Oh, stepping into my truth and living in my truth, regardless of what other people think. Most proud of that.
Which we're so glad that you're doing.
Thank you.
This episode will give somebody the courage to come out of the spiritual
that's
closet. So this is our favorite question, the one we always end with. If you had 30 seconds to speak to every person in the world and share one message with them, you can take a second. But what would your message be?
You know, I don't need that much of a minute. And it is, life is really short. And we have to stop living for other people. And we have to start living our soul's purpose, whatever that thing is. So if it's a desire, if it's something you really want to do it. Because you're going to die. Like, let's not just pretend that life in the physical body is infinite. Live, do the things you really want to do. Those things that seem so important that where you really aren't that important. Do the things that really drive you, and it'll be okay. You're taken care of.
Oh, that's beautiful. I feel like you being so spiritual probably helps you live life to the fullest.
It does. I mean, I still experience fear. I talk about this a lot. I still experience fear a lot, but I move through it. When I catch myself in it, that's the key. When I catch myself and realize I'm making a fear-based move or I'm scared to do something. We didn't talk about this, but I used to be, and it feels very funny to say used to be, but I used to be a marketing and business coach. And for me to walk away from a business that was making me multi-7 figures, so difficult, so difficult.
But you're living the message you just shared with everybody else, and that's do the thing that sets your
It's one life in this
soul on
physical
fire.
body. And look, let me be clear. I want to come back somebody's spirit guide. I do not want to have to do this life again, okay? Can I be a spirit guide? Yeah. You're like, can I be yours?
like,
You want me to
sign me
die
up.
right now?
I know it came out wrong. It came. I went to put my arm, and I was like, put it.
That's how we're gonna tease this episode, where Suzanne asks for a guest to die. Well, listen.
That's not what I mean.
On that note, we love you. We're glad that you're still alive. No, but thank you all for watching. We know that you love this conversation as much as we did. Please share this on all your social media, and we will be back, of course. We have more episodes this week of filming. We have so many episodes coming up. So we'll see you back here soon. Please share this episode. Keep talking to us. We love your questions. We love you guys giving us feedback on the episodes. So,
And I love Stephanie so much, and I don't want her to pass.
thank you for clarifying. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Bye. That came out so wrong.